What's up guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be talking about why the Canon M50 is still relevant in 2021. So a lot of you know that the Canon M50 started my career in filmmaking and producing TV shows that air on CBS Sports and the Outdoor Channel. I've also shot and edited several commercials that air on TV every single day. And to know that the Canon M50 started all of that is just mind-blowing to me, to be honest. If you want to see the full story, I already posted a video talking about how the Canon M50 changed my life. The link will be in the description if you want to check it out. I also put it in the cards up here. I think it's up here. Maybe, maybe not. So before I tell you why the Canon M50 is still relevant in 2021, first I want to remind you to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps to stay up to date with all the videos that I post. Everything you see in this video is shot with the Canon M50. Everything except the talking head that you see right here. This was shot with the Canon EOS R. Let's get started with how I use this camera today. Before I purchased the Canon EOS R, I used it for almost everything. I used it for shooting interviews, B-roll, literally everything. It was my main camera. Of course, when I shoot for the TV show that I work for, I shoot with Blackmagics. But like I explained in other videos, I still use the Canon cameras for a lot of the shots that I get. Today I use the Canon M50 for mainly B-roll or just an extra camera if I need it. But every time I use it, I fall in love with it all over again. Yesterday I shot a church event and I was the only guy running around shooting. But for this one particular part, I needed an extra angle, for the shot. So I put the Sigma 18-35 on the Canon M50, gave it to my wife, and of course the footage turned out amazing. Today I mainly use the M50 for an extra camera, but that is only because I love my Canon EOS R. If all I had was the M50, I could get by just as good in my opinion. It's a great camera. So the first thing I really like about this camera is the size. Even with the 18-35 Sigma lens, the camera is still small and compact compared to other cameras. If you decide to use the camera with the kit lens, it is even smaller and still shoots great footage. When you put the kit lens on, you could almost call it a point and shoot because it's so small. For the size of the camera, it seriously packs an awesome punch. Really the only negative thing I could say about the smallness is when you walk up to a job with this camera, you might, the customer might be a little scared because the camera's so small. They'd be like, oh my God, who in the heck did I hire? But honestly, I never let that hold me back. Even no matter the first job, I had the kit lens on there. I didn't care. I went to the job, shot amazing footage, and everything was good. He loved the footage. Everything was great. That's the only negative thing that I would say is the client might be a little skittish. You walking up with a camera that small, if that's all you have, go with it and shoot the best you possibly can. Another awesome thing about having a small camera is it will fit on pretty much any gimbal that is made for a camera. It's awesome. I have the DJI Ronin and I fly my Canon EOS R and it flies great, no problems. But with the Canon M50, it flies great as well. And the one bad thing about that is if you put the Sigma 18-35 on there, the balancing is so weird, it won't fly. But if you put the kit lens on there, it will. The Canon EOS R, just so you know, in case you have the R, if you put the 24-105 this lens on here on the Canon EOS R, you could fly with the Ronin SC, no problem. It's a beast of a lens. And it will fly with a gimbal, no problem. So there is that, just in case you wanted to know. Now that we got the size out of the way, let's talk about video quality. I shoot a lot of video in this camera. I hardly ever shoot pictures. Maybe I should have mentioned that in the beginning. So that is something you should know before watching any more of this video. If you're a photographer, the Canon M50 shoots great photos. When I do use it for pictures, no complaints. Honestly, it shoots really good photos, but I hardly ever use it for photos. I use it mainly for video. The Canon M50 shoots 1080 up to 60 frames a second, 4K up to 24 frames a second, which I would recommend never shooting in 4K. It shoots 1080 at 24, 1080 at 30, 720 at 120. That is some really good resolutions in my opinion. A lot of people don't know, but networks only require 1080p to broadcast. If you know what you were doing, you can get 1080p to look really good, like you see in this footage. If you're using it for YouTube, shoot everything in 1080p, upscale it to 4K, then YouTube will give you a compression of 4K so it will look amazing on YouTube as well. So don't let the fact that this camera only shoots 1080p discourage you. Don't let it discourage you. because it still shoots amazing footage, and that's all there is to it. It shoots really good footage. So the next thing to talk about is bit rate. It shoots at a pretty good bit rate for 1080p. If you want to adjust the colors a little bit, you can. There's no problem doing that. I mean, it's not raw, but you can get the look you're wanting out of this camera. I think if you set your white balance correct and get the perfect look every time. Anyways, this camera has really good video quality and will get the job done. As you see in all this footage, it looks amazing. Don't let it discourage you with anything. It shoots really good. It's a really good camera for YouTube as well. I mean, it's an amazing camera. So now that we have some of the basic stuff out of the way, let's talk about build quality, which is pretty basic too. This thing is built pretty dang good. I've had this camera for over 2 years and traveled to many different sets and locations. I mean, it's always been ready to shoot, no problems, ready to go. While I was in Mexico for 2 weeks, this is the only camera that I used to shoot with. Shot some really amazing footage and shot about 12 TV shows over there. But anyways, even though I was in some pretty tough spots, it handled everything just fine. It was great footage. I was in rain. It just kept going. I mean, it just didn't stop. Okay, so let's talk about the one negative thing I have to say about this camera, the M50. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. It will matter if you're shooting interviews and stuff that requires audio. If you know what you're doing, you can get away with it, no problem. But it is definitely worth mentioning in this video. It has no headphone jack to monitor the audio. That is one thing that, you know, I love about the Canon EOS R, is it does have a headphone jack. I can monitor the audio, make sure that there's no noise, hissing, anything like that. It's a big deal to make sure that the sound is great, and if you can monitor that, it's a plus. I've never had it happen, but just imagine if something goes wrong. You literally, your whole day shoot is gone, it's wasted just because the audio is no good. I mean, that would suck. A lot of stuff you can never get back, honestly. So it's good to monitor the audio if you have the ability to do so. That was hard to say. One way to make sure the audio is good with the Canon M50, every chance you get, scrub through the footage and make sure there's no hissing and noise that shouldn't be there. I would definitely recommend to do that. Make sure it is clean audio, and if you do that, you should be good. Nothing has ever gone wrong with mine because, you know, the port is good. I've never had a problem, but there is that chance that you do have that problem, and it'd be really bad. I mean, it would, man, you'd probably get fired and never hired again from that person. I have had a lapel go out when using my Canon EOS R on set, and because I was monitoring the audio with my headphones, I was able to notice the problem immediately and fix it. It was just the battery went dead, is all it was. Even though I put brand new batteries, sometimes you get bad batteries. Okay, enough about the audio. It is just a really important topic that a lot of people don't mention when they're talking about the Canon M50, so I figured I'd mention it. Next thing on the list is battery life. In my opinion, I have 5 batteries for this camera, and when I use it for my main camera, which I haven't done in a while, but when I used to do that, I would only go through about 3 batteries for the whole day. The whole day's worth of shooting, 3 batteries, and that is shooting non-stop for about 6 hours. I think the battery life on the Canon M50 is pretty freaking awesome. Really not much to say about it, but it's really good. I would say purchase a couple extra batteries. Make sure you get the Canon name brand. I've never bought a knockoff, but the Canon name brand has always been great, so that's what I always get. And yes, they're a little more expensive, but I think it's worth it. I've never bought any knockoffs. If you have bought knockoff brand and they work great for you, let me know in the comments. I've never done it. I'm scared to do it. Honestly, if something goes wrong, that's my butt. With that being said, that is all I have to say about the Canon M50. It really is an awesome camera, and I would highly recommend picking one up if you're in the market for an affordable camera. Links will be in the description. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell notification, all those things. And with that, make sure you have a good day.